Hello and welcome to Cognitions, Speaking the Unspeakable with JP
and Stacy D.
Y'all don't even want to know what Stacy D just said. I am JP Craddock. I am here with the one and only Stacy D Love. We are broadcasting on KUAW Radio. Coming up on the show today, we have our question of the day.
And what is that, JP?
Which is, I struggle with focusing and paying attention. Could I possibly have ADHD?
Hell no, you're just getting older. Oh, I'm sorry, I ain't supposed to say hell no more. I told my friend, love you, Michelle. I just told my friend I'm going to stop saying hell. Okay, come on. Because you know I don't cuss. But I love that hell word because that's that little in-between cuss word.
Because hell, why is hell a problem? Hell is not full-fledged
cuss word.
That's not full-fledged cuss.
Yeah, but I use it as a cuss word, though. And that's the problem. I use it as a cuss word. So you tell me to stop saying hell.
So you now can only use it in the biblical sense.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop using that HELL word.
All right. Okay. So for the ADHD, this is what we're going to do. If you go to our Facebook page, there is a symptom checklist on there. So really go ahead. For those of you who believe that you may have ADHD, go ahead, go to our Facebook page and complete that form, because when we get to that segment in the show, we're going to go over all the symptoms of ADHD. We're going to score the checklist and discuss the diagnosis. All right. So that is coming up on the show. Before we get to that, well, let's do our check-in. How is the D?
JP, can we get the number to call in? Because I think I want my friend Michelle to call in.
It's on the ticker across their screen.
Is it on the, do we see it? 816-599-6893. I want my friend Michelle Lee, one of my besties, but I can't say that out loud because people get mad. But that is one of my best friends. I'm like, we're not even best friends. I think I just need to call her my sisters. And no disrespect to my sorors, but this right here is my sister from another mother. I mean, I got about three of y'all. It's three of y'all. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I want you to call in and help me with this checklist thing because JP gonna try to do it on me. So I'm like, I gotta have somebody to help me on my side. So Shell, call in, cause you my dog, and you gonna be like, nah, JP, that ain't my sister, okay? Okay.
We are diagnosing Stacy D on this show today.
I already know I have ADHD,
but
and I'm not taking the medicine. Only in dire needs I take the medicine. Okay, check in. Okay, everybody, let me tell you something, because, we have listeners far, near, and close. So, this morning, it was 6 degrees outside. So, my daughter, Lynn Shay, I've been saving this outfit. This is a pink. Everybody know I love the pink. Let's see, there go the pink. I love the pink and the Nike. But I am going to stop wearing their brand and start wearing my own brand. That's to come. And my own lip gloss also. She said I'm looking like a polar bear today because it's fur on the outside, fur on the inside. Look, I even got a fan because it's hot in here. And I promise you, I am not going through the change.
It's not hot in here.
It's hot. I'm furred up, everybody. I'm like furred to the top. Y'all know I got the hat on because I don't mess with the cold.
Stacy D.
Yes.
It's not hot in here, but yes, you might be overdressed for the studio because...
Just for the studio, but not Kansas City.
Not Kansas City.
Not Kansas City at all.
Yes. Okay, so yes, she does have her own fan, and you probably still are burning up.
I am pretty hot.
Yeah, you gonna be all right.
I feel like who was his name? Nelly. It's hot in here. Take off all your clothes.
We'll want to take off all our clothes.
We gonna take off all our clothes, but you don't have time doing that though. That's why I be up in the gym. Work it out.
All right, here's my check-in. Last week on the show.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna have more problems. Don't do it.
I thought the show was hilarious.
Don't do it.
But remember, we started the show, D, and you were saying that you didn't have a check-in because you didn't want to get in any trouble, right?
Right. Don't do it.
And
JP, don't do it.
I had a
do it.
check-in.
Speaking of unspeakable. Speaking of.
And apparently there was a lot of fallout from my check-in. Not from the 1,300 people who watched it on Facebook.
Our numbers are going up, and we're not even talking about.
That's just our Facebook numbers.
That's just our Facebook numbers.
Yeah, that's just our Facebook numbers. But here are my thoughts. And Stacy D and I do not go out of our way to call people out on this show. We don't do that. We don't look to call people out, okay? And
unless they're my adult children.
Anyone who has watched our show know that we do not use controversy to boost our numbers on the show. So I've only had this problem twice, but last week was the second time. Here are my thoughts. This show is called Cognitions, Speaking the Unspeakable. I need everyone
Unspeakable.
to pay attention to the speaking the unspeakable part, because that's what we do. Now, we try to be as real as we can absolutely be on this show, which means we will be speaking the unspeakable. My thoughts are, for those people who struggle with what our reaction might be to something that you have done, always remember the story does not start with a person's reaction. The story starts with whatever it is that took place that led to the person's reaction. The word reaction in and of itself means that something preceded that reaction. So I have a problem with people who do things and then complain and get infuriated about the reaction that you have gotten. Now, I meant everything I said on that show last week, with the exception of there were some jokes that.
Who did the joke?
That was me.
That was
me.
Wasn't me.
I did. I did jokingly say a couple of things, but the gist of what I said was the truth, and I basically stand by it. And so, please. This is a lesson in life. Be careful what you do to people, because they may have a reaction. In this case, the reaction was I just asked a question.
Just ask the question.
I just asked the question. I did not insult anyone. We never use names on the show. I did not identify anyone. So your anonymity will always
Say that word again. Say that word again.
Your anonymity will always be protected. We can be anonymous.
Like in education, ain't
but
that good?
Watch what you do, because there may be a reaction. That's my check-in.
I just really want to say that my brother JP, he's so good. He says it so softly. I'm a copy that. I'm gonna do better. You said that so nicely.
Well.
That's so nice.
But we've had conversations about this,
yes,
and people struggling with us. When we do these check-ins, they're real. Like, we are telling real, actual events from our lives, and sometimes people struggle with that. And I don't think that is something that should be a struggle. And treat people well, and you don't have to worry about it. All right. Mental health and illness in the news. Stacy D, are you familiar with a tennis player by the name of Novak Djokovic?
Was that the one that acted a fool?
He tends to act a fool.
Yeah. I mean, he's hilarious. I enjoys it.
Novak Djokovic is the world number one. He's seeded number one because Roger Federer is the true number one in the tennis world, but we'll roll with this. So basically what happened, there was a lot of controversy this week. The Australian Open started this week, and everyone entering into Australia has to be vaccinated. unless they get an exemption. Apparently, he filed for an exemption based upon he had recently had COVID, and so he was within that zone of time where if you just got over it, you your immune system is in a place where you cannot,
catch it again.
Right. The problem is they granted the exception, but during the time that he was saying that he had COVID, there are photos of him traveling around the world, and he even played a children's event with no mask.
Wow.
So that put, those at the Australian Open in a position of, okay, he is either being dishonest that he recently had COVID, or he had COVID and he traveled around and did a children's event with no mask. Either way,
a children's event with no mask.
And last week alone, 1 million children were diagnosed with COVID. I know someone who works at a school. They were sending home 30 and 40 kids a day. So, to play a children's event without a mask, if he actually had COVID, and this is like his second time having COVID. He's no stranger to COVID. They revoked the exemption. They had held him in a holding, not facility, a hotel, but of course he played it up like he was in prison or something, and he got deported from Australia and can't return for 3 years. His fans were livid, but the Australian community,
I don't care.
They were like, no, he shouldn't be here. Everybody else has to follow these rules.
He shouldn't have lied. He should have did what he was needing to do. I mean, he's a role model. He's going to children's events, and you're not acting appropriately. I mean, I agree. Go Australia.
Yes, Australia. They put their foot down,
and that was good.
And said, "Get out."
Get the. And
he had to get out.
Out.
So
I was gonna say my other word.
You can't even say hell. So what were you gonna say? You revoked.
You revoked my word from me.
I need for Michelle to call in because, as an undergrad for speech class, I did a speech that addressed the positive benefits of profanity. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I was young.
Only JP.
Young and profane.
And would let them come out those compound words. The compound words.
I was young and I loved to So, as a young person who loved to cuss, I did a speech on the benefits of profanity in reducing one's stress and anxiety level as a form of expressiveness.
Do you still feel like that?
I still love a good cussing. Okay, I still appreciate but my babies too. I'm not even able to cuss anymore.
That's good.
Like
she would repeat them.
I have
especially from her daddy.
I've practically eliminated cursing
at home, in front of her.
Yes, but I'm at home all the time because of the pandemic. I'm working from home, so I done lost my cussing abilities and skills.
That's good.
It's probably good. But what I want you to, hopefully Michelle will call in. But
I'm finna text her. Girl, call in.
This is your last verbal stress reducer. Is when you get really upset, you can't even say damn and hell.
I don't.
What's left?
Well, I never did say the D word. I was only using the H word.
Oh, you had already weeded out.
I had already taken. I mean, I have been cussing probably 5 years.
I remember how you used to cuss. You was good at cussing.
I was good at cussing. Right before I hit him.
You was good at hitting too. Mm-hmm. The D would whoop some tail back in the day.
I have been watched. Okay, she wants to know what's the number. What is it? She finna call y'all.
The number is hold on.
Hold on a minute. I'm
the number is 816-599-6893. Anyone who wants to call into the show can call into the show. Mr. Walker will take your calls and put you on the air as long as you are a decent human being.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Wait,
Can we do our disclaimer? We don't know.
All right. This is KUAW. We're gonna see if we can make this work.
We gonna find out. Live driving. Let's see what happens here.
Yeah, because
I have to put on headphones.
the studio moved to another part of the building, and so
Say hello to them.
let's see if
Shell. She's not texting you.
Yeah, they should be here.
Shell, tell them about the H word.
hold on first, Michelle. How are you? This is Gerald. This is JP. Gerald. I know you. Yes, because we went to Michelle. What did we go to? Was it middle school at Coronado or high school together?
It wasn't high school because she went to Sligo.
Was it? I can't hear her. What's the matter? Michelle, can you hear us?
So
Okay, hold on. Michelle, can you hear me?
Oh, I
Okay,
can hear too. Okay.
I can't hear. These aren't working.
Those
No,
not
they're
working.
not working.
Michelle.
Michelle, did we go to middle school together?
I know that's.
And
not
you
the-
know my frat brother William Coleman.
That's.
Yes. Okay. So, Michelle, I'm saying these are my thoughts that if Stacy D
Yeah.
is prohibited from saying hell, that's her last verbal stress reduction verbiage. What are your thoughts on that? Because she loves saying hell. It's her last word that she can say. You know, she used to say a lot of other words back in the day. She does love the word, but
I
she
do.
has done. She's done so well at eliminating all of the other more colorful words that
Good
that's-
adjective.
she's done really well. I just think the D, she needs that one last word, but you don't think you say she needs to get rid of it. Okay, let's see if we even make it through this episode of the show without her using that word.
It's funny because last week's episode I was watching, she got off the phone and I said, Stacy, you sure use that H word the whole night. I know.
You used it during the show?
I probably did.
Michelle, did she use it during the show? I don't recall.
She said,
Okay.
yes, you did, friend. Yes, you did.
That is so sweet. She's a good friend to you.
My sister
She
from another
watches
mother.
the show. Continue to improve. This is good. Are you gonna make
How
it
many
through
of
the
your
rest of
friends
this
be
show?
listening?
They don't. Well, they do it
Later
when it's
on.
time to get mad because I kept it too real.
Tell her about that day. No, okay, we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna leave that alone. Cause I'm feeling bees like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, cause she got my number too. So I'm just gonna be like, I'm sorry. But okay.
This is
And
interesting.
Michelle know the person you was talking about too.
Did you tell her?
I ain't told Michelle, but
Do not
Michelle
tell.
knows who we was talking about last week. She literally knows her.
Okay.
Like family. They're like family.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
through
and
marriage.
here's what's interesting, Michelle, is Coleman, who I had talked to about it, he was saying, well, people, he said, you're right. She was wrong. Because after the show, I found out some other things that this person had blatantly been dishonest with me about something. And so Coleman's perspective was, well, no, she was clearly wrong. But people were not prepared for you having a radio show and pointing out crap that they've done to you.
Right.
And so his response was, maybe that's not a good idea, and you better not do that to me. But that's my brother. That's my LB. And him and I don't have those problems. He treats me well. He treats people well in general.
And when you do that, you don't have those problems.
You don't have
You
those
don't have those
problems.
problems.
And that's the thing. He's not even the kind of person who would be in a position where someone would be saying, hey, this is what happened to me, and Coleman did it. You know?
Right. Right.
You agree with that, Michelle?
I agree with that.
Okay. So do you agree with my perspective that don't do foul crap to people and then you don't have to worry about what they may say or not say on the radio?
Absolutely. Because for one, you're entitled to say whatever you want to say, and you never know how somebody gonna get you back. So, or embarrass you unintentionally.
Right.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Be nice to people.
Our goal,
Point blank, period.
right. Our goal on the show is anything we share, it's to the benefit of our listeners and our viewers. There is some life lesson involved in it. So it's never just to be vengeful. Like, it's, okay, how can our viewers benefit from this? So there's not even malicious intent. And as I said, we protect people's,
Identities.
We practice anonymity, yeah. And so it's like, hey, we not calling out your name, like,
Not this
so
time.
shut up. Not this time.
Because, I might accidentally say it.
I don't think so, dude. You've done a good job.
Yeah, I really have.
And you've gotten kind of sensitive in your
Older years,
older
man.
years anyway.
I really have. I mean, hell, I think I used to be a little boy. But
JP, she just said it. JP,
I did just say
I don't think I usually say it. I totally missed it.
me too until she
I'm
called me.
oblivious to it.
she said, well, you're a little boy.
Friend, talk louder. I can't hardly hear you.
Right before she went to her sentence, she said, well, hell.
Wow.
That,
Okay.
That's my favorite word.
Yeah. Okay. Michelle's on it.
Yes,
Michelle.
yeah.
Thank you for being
She
so
is that
on it.
friend. Can we do this now since we have Michelle on the phone? Because she might have to go to work.
Okay.
We can't say her last night because her employer might get in trouble.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. The question of the day today is, I struggle with focusing and paying attention. Is it possible that I have ADHD?
And help us, friend, because it's supposed to be about me. But we already know I got ADHD. But we're going to see, do I really, well, I was diagnosed a long time ago.
Okay. Here is the reason why Stacy D has to be our test subject. And here's the disclaimer. Is it echoing? The sound.
Might be because we have Michelle on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, maybe because I'm listening and I do hear you're delayed on my iPad.
And hopefully,
Oh, okay.
so for the rest of the listeners, do I sound okay?
Now that I turned it off, you sound great.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so here's the reason why we are using Stacy D as a test subject, even though she's said that she has ADHD, which that makes her the perfect test subject for this. Here's the disclaimer. As a therapist, legally, I cannot diagnose people on the radio. Okay? A diagnosis has to be officially given in a clinical setting, you know. So for those of you out there who have completed the symptom checklist, yes, we're going to go through the symptom checklist. I'm going to go over all the symptoms of this diagnosis and explain the diagnosis using Stacy D as the test subject for you, our listeners, to be able to diagnose yourself. But I'm just making it clear that for all of our listeners out there, and one of my family members better be listening and better have his checklist filled out, because here's one right here, D.
I thought you was using.
Why are you getting up and walking around while we own the radio? She just walked away from the camera.
Okay.
Okay, that's how comfortable we are on the show. The D is like, are we on the air? Because I'm about to walk across the room and get a pen. Okay, so, but I have to put the disclaimer out there that I cannot officially diagnose listeners and viewers of the show. All right?
Okay.
And even the makers of the symptom
JP.
checklist.
I'm really looking at your fingertips. They really are gone. You need some.
Yeah, this is why we diagnosing Stacy D today.
That's right.
Because her ADHD just kicked in. She lost focus. But yeah, she's talking about our OCD episode from last week. I don't have
that
fingerprints.
was not me. That was him.
Yeah,
I
I don't.
myself.
To our listeners who does not know what the heck Stacy D is talking about, see, she gets off track, and then I.
Pop scene.
Okay. During our OCD episodes, 2 weeks of that, I do not have OCD, by the way, but I do wash my hands so much that I'm borderline for OCD, and I don't have fingerprints anymore. I can't open the phone. I can't do.
Yeah.
It's a situation. Okay. Can we get back to ADHD, or we gonna keep rolling with OCD?
We're gonna go back to ADHD.
What D is we rolling with, D?
ADHD. Come on. Snap,
Okay.
snap.
So, for those of you who filled out the symptom checklist, even the makers of that symptom checklist state that the results mean that, quote, the patient has symptoms that are highly consistent with ADHD in adults, and further investigation is warranted, because they don't want to be sued either. So they're making it
So
clear.
you take your checklist to your therapist or your doctor.
That's right. All right. So first, let me explain what ADHD is for those of you who are not familiar with it. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Okay. Now, there are 3 different types of ADHD. There's ADHD predominantly inattentive type, and those are the people who, way back in the day, it used to be called ADD, and some people still use the term ADD, but ADD is an outdated term, like it outdated like 30 years ago. That term has not been an official diagnostic term.
Probably about 25.
Well, when I was in school 23 years ago, it had been outdated.
Because they diagnosed my son with it
We were never taught ADD.
when he was
It
when he was like 5 years old.
that was some old therapist who
That was an
refused to
old
move on and
And he was
accept
at
new
KU,
terms.
and he was at KU Medical Center. Okay.
Old food refused to move
Old
on and
food.
accept new terms. The official current term is ADHD predominantly inattentive type, and those are the people who only have the attention deficit, poor concentration, poor focusing side of the diagnosis. Now, the next part, the next type is ADHD predominantly hyperactive impulsive type. Those are people who do not struggle with attention and concentration and focusing. They just have hyperactivity, fidgetiness, like psychomotor agitation, or restlessness. and impulsivity, which is a totally separate symptom. Impulsivity is doing things without thinking about the consequences first. But those two have been combined under the umbrella together. So you have ADHD predominantly inattentive type. You have ADHD predominantly hyperactive impulsive type. And then the third type is just ADHD combined type. And those are the people who struggle with all of the above. They have the poor concentration and inattentiveness, struggles to focus. They also experience the hyperactivity and a little bit of impulsivity. Okay, so those are the types. Now, Stacy D is our test subject. This is what we're going to do. For those of you who have your form already completed as we're going through this,
Hold on, what's all these numbers that you have on your paper? You was just thinking about me and you was writing stuff?
D, I need
This
you to
what
try
it
to
was?
stay focused.
Hold on, what's all this? Look, yeah, he got stuff all up here. Okay, yeah,
These-
go ahead on.
These are not your scores.
Okay.
I didn't complete this for you, D.
Okay. I believe you. Come on.
She tried to stay focused. Okay. These numbers are the diagnostic codes from the DSM.
Oh, okay.
That's the symptom numbers. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. For those of you who have completed your checklist, I'm going to read the symptom on the checklist, but it's abbreviated. And so once I cover the symptom on the checklist, to be sure that you meet the criteria for that particular symptom, I'm going to read the full.
And we are getting this information from the therapist Bible, showing the Bible.
Yes, because on this show, we always diagnose
From our Bible.
the DSM officially. Okay, this isn't Google where anybody and their mama can come up with diagnoses and say that people have something. If you meet the criteria for this diagnosis, it's going to be clear because it's from the DSM. Okay, D.
Let's go.
Okay, hold on. You made me.
He done missed his page.
Because
He's
you
not
made
very
me.
organized, is he?
Because I had everything set up. Did you complete it?
No, I thought we was gonna do it together on the air.
Okay.
That's why Michelle.
Go ahead and read that first symptom out loud.
Okay. How often do you have trouble wrapping up the final details of a project once the challenging part have been done? I don't think I have a problem with that because I said let's put it to bed. It's over with and done. Michelle, do you agree?
Don't ask Michelle if she agrees yet. Wait until after I read the
I don't
rest.
have a problem with that. Number 2 is how often do you
Stacy
have?
D. No. Hold on.
Oh, well, you told me to read something.
No, this is what I was saying. Whoo, Lord, her symptoms.
Speaking of unspeakable, even when I'm here, can you wait till I leave? Okay. Come on.
Okay, no, I probably didn't explain this clearly. And so I want our listeners to hear it also. If you have checked that you do have a symptom, and the options are never, rarely, sometimes, often, and very often. If you've checked it, I'm going to read the rest of the diagnostic symptom criteria to be sure that you do or do not. So I'm saying don't rule this out yet, because let me read the rest of it. Okay.
Never.
This is a person who often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish, if it's a kid, schoolwork, if it's an adult, chores, duties in the workplace, and etc. An example of this is starting tasks but quickly losing focus and getting easily sidetracked.
But the key word is that you don't finish.
All of that is a part of this explanation for that symptom, D. Okay?
Never.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
How are you saying never? You have gotten sidetracked 10 times during this show. You took us back to OCD.
But what I'm hearing is never finish. I finish everything I start. It might take me a year, might take me 6 months, might take me 5 years.
But then you don't finish. You don't finish in a timely manner. So that is
I don't
you.
finish in a timely manner. If I make a deadline, I finish it in my deadline.
No, not always, friend.
Okay then. Cause she's on the outside looking in. So okay. So what would you put that as, friend? Rarely, sometimes, or often? Cause you about to get hung up on in 2.2 seconds.
Or very often. Don't forget that option.
It's often. It's
Often, really? Okay, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna say
Let me tell you
Michelle
why I
said
say
that.
that. Let me tell you why. Because you will be set a task to do something for your business, and you get sidetracked, and you will pick it back up next week or the week after. Something that could have been done and completed on that same day.
She's right.
You're very
If you do that, you need to be checking something besides never.
Okay, and what's number 2?
Okay, how often do you have difficulty getting things in order when you have to do a task that requires organization?
Okay, that's very often.
Okay, here's the rest of that criteria. Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities. For example, difficulty managing sequential tasks. Do this first, second, third, etc., etc. Difficulty keeping materials and belongings in order. Messy. And with our kids who have ADHD, this is
That's a
a
big problem.
very, very common symptom. They're messy.
They're messy.
Like it, and getting them to clean even if they clean their room, if you come back by that room 3 hours later,
because I have to find it.
it's like the tornado came right back.
Because
and hit.
I put it up, and now I don't know what happened to it because y'all done made me put it up. That's just how my desk is. Like, I know where everything is on my desk, regardless of, it might not look right to y'all, but I know where my stuff is. But then when my daughter come up in there, once again, stay up out my office, and she wants to come up in there and organize, and I can't find nothing, then everything is everywhere again.
Is your office messy?
My desk is, and that's it. There's nothing on the floor or nothing.
Okay. Okay, well, let me read the rest. Disorganized work, poor time management.
Stop. I'm a very timely person. I am on
You are
time because time is money.
You are very timely.
So I'm gonna change this to often and not very often.
And fails to meet deadlines.
Oh, I meet my deadline.
Okay. You don't.
No.
If the state come in and tell me I got to do a case, my cases be done and looking good.
No, you ask for extension.
Oh, I do.
Oh, that is not meeting a deadline. Oh my God. Not an excuse. Michelle, thank you for calling
Five
in.
different businesses. You know why you have 5 different businesses? Because you can't focus on one business, so you start something else.
And I'm trying to start 2 more businesses before the end of the year. What'd she say?
She is on it.
That's my sister. I'm not gonna get mad at her though. I'll be down there next week. But what?
This is so much more
What did she
accurate.
just say?
She said the reason why you start so many businesses, that's your lack of focus. You just, oh, I'm gonna do this. Oh, I'm gonna do that. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Ooh,
But I
I'ma do
make
that.
money from them now.
Well, this isn't about making money.
It's not. But most ADHD people are very creative, and I'm very creative.
And
You are.
they do tend to accomplish more than the average person because of the higher energy level. But let's talk about the positive sides of ADHD after we get through this.
Okay, come
D?
on. We got a whole lot of questions. We got 18 questions. We have 18 questions and 19 minutes to go. Let's go.
We're not even going to get through all of it. This is what happens when you are assessing and diagnosing ADHD in the office. It can take 2-3 sessions
Yeah, it does.
because they're all over the place. Okay, here's something to remember, D, and our listeners. You do not have to have every single aspect that I am reading off. If you can relate and have seen yourself experience some
3
amount
out of
of the
5.
symptoms, you should be able to check never, rarely, sometimes, often, and very often.
So
Okay.
far, I have like 2 very often.
Okay, well, because we haven't made it past the second question.
Okay, number 3.
Okay. How often do you have problems remembering appointments or obligations?
Never, because I have a calendar.
Here's the rest of that. Is often forgetful in daily activities, such as doing chores, running errands. For older adolescents out there and for adults, this would be having trouble remembering to return phone calls, pay bills. As I said before, keeping appointments. So you,
Michelle, what you think about that one?
I'm gonna say sometimes.
That's in the middle.
so she's saying that happens sometimes.
But she said that happens sometimes, but I'm real good with my calendar.
Well, what you have described is that you have learned to self-manage that symptom
right.
by
That's
using
right.
a calendar. And so when we get
Everything is on the calendar.
yeah, exactly. And so because
The radio show is on the calendar with the bell.
that we do
At
every week.
At 1:30, I get a bell, a notification. Wrap it on up.
The show that we do every week at the same time. Okay. And so we're going to talk about that, what to do as far as for those of you who end up meeting the criteria for this diagnosis. There are the options of medication or self-management. And so what Stacy D is outlining right now is the self-management of the symptoms. Okay, number 4. When you have a task that requires a lot of thought, how often do you avoid or delay getting started?
To the very end.
Here's the rest of that. Often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort. Okay, so a person who has ADHD, they're going to put things off that they're like, no, it's going to be involved, it's going to be tedious. I don't have time for that. I don't want to be bothered with it, and they'll put it off.
And my father, he used to like really get me upset and used to really make me get in my feelings because he's also a big business owner. He owns quite a few businesses. And he used to say that I was a procrastinator, and procrastinators are lazy, and I'm far from being lazy. And we used to really battle about that. But it was just that I just couldn't concentrate. I couldn't concentrate long enough to do it, and then I would have to make myself do it when it was time.
And it is a mistake. I always explain to parents that it is a mistake to tell their kids that they are lazy when they are actually struggling to manage symptoms of ADHD. They're struggling to focus and concentrate. They're not lazy.
No, it's not. Far from it.
It's kind of like saying that a person who has depression is lazy when in actuality decreased energy is a symptom of depression.
It is.
So they're not lazy, they're experiencing decreased energy. Okay, so here are some examples of that. Being reluctant to engage in schoolwork, homework for kids. For adults, this would be delaying preparing reports, completing forms, reviewing lengthy papers, audits, all of that. Okay, did you check whatever applies?
Very
to
often.
you? Okay. Number 5, how often do you fidget or squirm with your hands or feet when you have to sit down for a long time? This is
Very often.
these are the adults who, when you go to workshops and trainings and continuing education trainings, they struggle to stay in their seat.
I go to the bathroom about 10 times.
They go to the bathroom, they get up, you'll see them walking around, pacing in the back of the room, trying not to disturb anyone else, which is
I'll be
wonderful.
lying, talk about I have a back problem, so I can't sit that long. When I'm with my husband, like if we on taking a road trip, this is what I do. Can everybody see me? And it drives him crazy because I can't get up, so I'm doing this, and it drives him crazy. He's like, stop it.
To me, that's self-management.
It is.
Because you're not all over the place. You're not all over the car.
I'm concentrating on doing this.
Yes. If a person has ADHD and all they're doing is twirling their thumbs, leave them alone.
Leave me alone.
And for parents,
He does like this to me. Stop it.
he needs to. He
I told
needs
him
to
leave me alone.
Yes. And because this is a mistake that parents.
Mr. Walker is having fun on this, isn't he?
This is a mistake that parents make when their kid is trying to self-manage by doing something like twirling their thumbs or playing with a fidget spinner.
Patting their foot.
Yes. And the parent is saying be still and stop moving, and because it's getting on their nerves. But it's like, okay, for kids who have this symptom, they can be all over the place sometimes. If all they're doing is fidgeting with their hands, leave them alone. Okay, like just shut up and leave your kid alone.
Shut up. I like that.
The rest of the explanation or description for this symptom is tapping hands or feet, squirming in one's seat, all of those different things.
Like,
Okay.
I can't wait till this hour be over with this radio show. It is so difficult for me to sit here for an hour.
And it's 1 hour. So imagine the D at a 7 or 8 hour training.
Well, when I was in grad school, I used to really take medication, but I would only take a half a pill.
Okay. So for trainings and stuff now,
I don't pay attention. I can't unless I take a pill. But I'm
Okay.
always up going to the bathroom.
okay.
But I love sitting in the front of the class.
Okay.
But
So Stacy employs a combination of med management and self-management, which is the absolute best approach to managing ADHD, because sometimes the meds are not going to do all of the work. You have to pick up where the meds leave off.
and I don't like the meds because it messes with my sex drive, it messes with my creativity, and I get hairs on my chin. Who wants that?
Those meds are not causing you to have hair on your chin.
Yes,
That's because
they
the
are.
D is
Watch
moving
it,
through
watch
life.
it, watch it, watch it,
I didn't say.
watch it, watch it.
I didn't use the old word. I said.
Shell, you still on the phone?
I'm here. I'm listening.
I said, moving through life, the years are passing. And as the years pass, sometimes hairs will come
This
out.
was hairs coming when I was in elementary school and high school. So, okay,
Really?
okay, can we move on, please? We've run out of time.
Okay. How often do you feel overly active and compelled to do things like you were driven by a motor?
All the time. I feel as though that my brain never shuts down. Like I have a pad and pencil by my nightstand just because I'll wake up in the middle of the night and think about things or think about a new business, or my motor never cuts off. I only sleep like 4 hours a day. But guess what, JP? You don't sleep that much either.
I don't. I have insomnia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the rest of the description of that symptom. Is unable to be or uncomfortable being still for an extended time. This 1 hour show does not count. This is not an extended time. This is 60 minutes. So for those of you who, if you struggle to sit still for an hour, you need to be looking at the level of severity for this particular symptom. This applies to trainings in restaurants, meetings, and it can be experienced as being restless or difficult to keep up with the person. For the loved ones, the family members, the friends, they sometimes can feel like, ooh, it's so hard to keep up with you, Stacy. You on the go.
Michelle, do you be feeling like that?
Yes.
Okay. That you hard to keep up with. All right. Number 7. How often do you make careless mistakes when you have to work on a boring or difficult project?
All the time.
Okay, here's the rest of the description for that symptom. Often failing to give close attention to details.
That's me. That's why all my business partners are A personality, because they take care of the business, dot the I's and cross the T's. But I'm the creative mind behind it.
Okay, so making careless mistakes for kids, schoolwork, for adults, work, or during other activities. Overlooking just the missing details. Okay, it's the little small pieces that might get overlooked. And so
They do.
your way of self-managing that symptom is you work and partner with people who are more detail-oriented, because you're more on the macro end of things, looking at the
I
big
know my
picture.
needs and I know my strengths.
Right. Self-management.
Self-management. And also, I want to, and this is how I first got my first diagnosis, was when I was in elementary school, everybody. Because I actually went to a private school, and I used to be in class, and I used to get through with my work real fast, and I used to call everybody else dumb. So they actually was giving me the diagnosis as, oh my God, this is too bad.
They probably said you were.
I had a
gifted.
conduct disorder.
That's not conduct
What
disorder.
was it? Oh God, what
They
was
probably
it?
thought it was ODD.
I can't remember.
It can't be conduct disorder. That's a criminal.
Yeah, it wasn't conduct. It was oh my God.
It would or
If
disruptive
it was a behavior.
disorder.
Yeah, it was a
Disruptive
behavior disorder. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they gave me. And then went on because I was like a straight A student. So they just it didn't go together. Like, well, that's the therapist said it didn't really go together. I'm like, well, why are you giving it to me then? But everybody else was just doing their work because everything was a competition to me. So everybody else was doing their work too slow.
and back in the day, kids who had ADHD were oftentimes misdiagnosed with behavioral diagnoses,
Behavior disorders.
whether it was ODD, oppositional defiant
Defiant.
disorder, or disruptive behavior disorder. They shouldn't have been diagnosed with conduct disorder though, because that's
Yeah,
you would
not
have to
conduct.
have punched the teacher in the face in order to get that one.
Well, I did throw a couple of chairs and turn over some desks.
You did used to fight a lot, but that's not conduct disorder. You were not conduct disorder. Okay.
The kids were just dumber in the class.
I don't know if we should call the kids dumb, but let's just keep rolling.
I'm not gonna say no names.
let's just keep rolling.
It was only 18 of us in the class. I'm not gonna say no names.
You was beating people up when we was in high school, D.
Yeah, but that was because I was helping my friends then. Didn't nobody mess with me in high school.
But you was whooping some tail. Okay.
Number 8.
Number 8, how often do you have difficulty keeping your attention when you are doing boring or repetitive work?
Very often.
This is the rest of the description. Having difficulty sustaining attention in tasks, and for kids, this would be play activities. Having difficulty remaining focused during lectures, conversations, or lengthy reading. Now, I think everyone scratch that. A lot of people, when they're reading, they'll kind of space off, and then they have to reread what they were reading. This applies to if that happens a lot, to the point that you feel like, okay, it's taking me too long to get through my readings. Okay. Number 9, how often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they are speaking to you directly?
Michelle, answer that one.
Say it again. When they're speaking to her directly, how often? What? Say that
How
again,
often?
JP.
How often do you have difficulty concentrating on what people say to you, even when they are speaking to you directly? You just did it.
I was just getting ready to say, JP, she just do
That's
it.
why I had to
Your
read it
whole
again.
Show that way. The whole show. When you're
That's
speaking
why-
to her, she'll divert to something else.
Look at her face.
Asking a question, she'll answer something in a different way and then jump to something different. She do it all the time. So that's very often.
Okay, but I'm reading this directly to you. And I had to read it again, D, because you weren't concentrating when I read it.
Okay, very often.
That's all
Okay.
the time.
For the rest of our listeners, here's the rest of the description. Often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly. Mind seems elsewhere, even in the absence of any obvious distraction. So this is like people would say to you, "Are you listening to me? Are you paying attention?" And
You
they
say
like,
sometime.
"There's
Not
nothing.
really.
There's nothing going on to distract you, but you're still."
I'm thinking about
distracted."
something totally different.
Okay, so yes,
Yeah.
the look on your face was so funny. Okay, D, we're gonna have to finish this next week. Okay.
Oh wow, the time to win. Okay. Actually, I'm done with the play. We're done with this.
Okay, for our listeners and our viewers, we made it through 9 questions with Stacy D, which is actually further than I thought we would make
And
it.
it's very often on a lot of them too. So, but I already know what I am. So,
Oh my goodness.
JP, you know, besides her having ADHD, you know what I tell her?
What do you
What?
tell her, Michelle?
She already know. She's just a blonde. She had blonde moments all the time.
I think it's the
Blonde.
ADHD. It ain't that.
Soothe it with just a blonde. She's had blonde moments. That's all.
The ADHD is probably making you look like you are having blonde moments. Yeah. But you're just trying to focus and concentrate, and
I know.
you have a lot on your mind.
Right now, I got a lot on my mind. I'm thinking about us doing the whole Valentine thing. I can't wait for that.
It's still January. She's all up in the middle of February.
I am.
This is why we didn't make it through this whole assessment.
Terrible.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you, Michelle, my bestie.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for
Welcome.
calling.
Thank you. I enjoy y'all show.
Let me tell you, you definitely increased the accuracy of Stacy's
I
assessment.
know, because I had some of them at some time, and it done got to be very often.
But she supported everything she said. She supported with evidence.
I know, right?
So, like,
I've been teaching her stuff.
She's about to take credit for what you did, Michelle.
Right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. What we will do next week is we will make it through the rest of this assessment. We're probably going to have to skip the previous segment because we need enough time to get through this. And so that's what we will do. Everyone, anyone out there who has not completed the checklist, go ahead, complete the checklist, and we will complete this next week. All right? Anything else, Stacy D?
I think that's it. Once again, we had a great show.
We always have a good time. All right.
Thank Lord, this hour is almost over with.
She's ready.
Bye now.
She's ready to jump up and run up out of the studio. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And remember, worry about nothing.
And pray about everything.
Thank you, and God bless.
Amen.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
I'll say my thing because I've been and lost it.
That was one of the symptoms.
Are we still on the air? I guess that didn't help. That just proves everything, huh?
The D.
What?
That was great.
But you know, I always been
That was-
ADHD though.
What?
I always been ADHD though.
Are we done?